One small, unimportant decision that you made that changed the whole trajectory of your life.
Okay, so in 2015, we went on a cruise for our family vacation. And the first night we got on the boat, my mom was like, Carrie, you need to go to the kids club and like make friends. There was like a club for 15 to 17-year-olds, and I thought I was too cool for it. I was like, I'm not going in. That sounds stupid. Well, she convinced me to go in, and I saw this guy. I was like, he's really cute. And he came up and talked to me and asked where I was from. And then he was like, do you want to go get ice cream? I said yes. I was like, okay, sure, why not? So it was a 7-day cruise, and we ended up hanging out every day, like all day. At the end of the cruise, I was really sad because I was like, I'm never going to see you again. I was from North Carolina. He was from Alabama. It's just not going to work out. Here he is for the first time visiting me in North Carolina. And here we are now, married, going on 5 years with 2 boys.
So last year when the pandemic hit, I was laid off from my job that I had worked for 4 years and had 4 promotions. And a month later, they were like, never mind, we need you to come back to work. So I went back, and they cut a bunch of people and they started to add extra work to your regular role without a pay raise or anything. So it became unbearable and just not this. I went on LinkedIn and I applied to a few jobs, and I worked at one company for 1 month, and then I got hired at a different company, which is the company I'm at now. Completely different industry, a leap of faith I had to take. I have been at this company now for 5 months. I have been on the most amount of vacations I have ever been in my life. I have an apartment next to the beach. I just got a promotion. I doubled my salary. This is your sign to get the...
I was 14, a freshman in high school, and I was determined to be more social. Always been a very shy, introverted kid. My 2 most important goals for freshman year was to focus and do very well in school, get good grades, and make friends. But I also had a crush on a boy. I honestly didn't even think he knew I existed. So I made a little bit more efforts to talk to him. Honestly was like, I have 0 chance, but I may as well get to be his friend. Deep down in my soul, I wanted to be more than just friends, but I was like, we gotta start somewhere. So I made efforts to talk to him, sit next to him. We talked, but it was never like, it was never often enough for me to ever even think it was going somewhere. So I made a small decision, and this small decision changed my whole life. I went to a very small charter school. The population was maybe 40 children in total. So I got as many people's numbers that I could so that we could all go to an arcade and have a fun-filled arcade date. So when I got everyone's number, I got his number too. This was all gonna happen on a Saturday, but on Friday I told everyone that I couldn't go. Since I was the one who kind of planned everything, everybody else kind of dropped out of going as well. But I gotta keep his number, and the rest is history. I go try on wedding dresses tomorrow.
To those who don't know, I unfortunately play League of Legends. One day I get a game invite from a friend that I don't really play with much. I was thinking of declining it, but I was like, you know what, why not? So I get in the lobby, and there's this other dude who I haven't met. Turns out he graduated from my school a year ago, so we connected on that. Game was done, he added me. Later on, I get another invite from him. This time I got to meet his friends, which were also all from the same school and graduated 1 year after me. That was back in 2015. So when I graduated a year later, all my high school friends, they moved on. But my League friends, we just kept playing. And then for the past 6 years, we just kept doing everything together. We played board games, we got manicures. They even took me to my first bar. And you may be thinking, well, that's not life-changing. Well, I think it's really weird things could have been different if I didn't accept the invite to play League of Legends.
So in 2010, I took 2 summer jobs. One of them was at an ice cream parlor, which was awesome, and the other one was just like a retail job. And I mostly just took that job because my sister worked at the same company. And after 1 summer of working in both of those jobs, I loved the ice cream parlor, mostly because I got free ice cream and I could walk to work. But like I wasn't really interested in being a cashier or working retail, so I decided that I would not come back the following summer. Anyway, following summer rolls around, and as it turns out, I can't really get as many hours in the ice cream parlor as I wanted, so I opt to go back to this retail job and just like figured out kind of make the best of it, even though I didn't really like it. And as it turns out, I absolutely loved that summer there, and that company was REI, and now 11 years later, I still work for REI. I now have my own YouTube series with them called Miranda in the Wild. I am an outdoor influencer, and honestly, I have the absolute dream job.
Last year during the pandemic, I decided to just go for it with the idea I had in mind to make my own adobo and sazon healthy vegan right here. I decided to start blending my own seasonings and start selling them. And from that, it has turned into this. I have orders going out, bins full of product. And from that, I was able to launch my cookbook, which started as a PDF in 2017, where I shared with my friends that didn't know how to make Puerto Rican foods in a healthy way. It's now a cookbook where I share my story growing up in Puerto Rico, a lot of tips and full of tips and nutrition on how to make your favorite foods without losing the Puerto Rican flavor. And I want to thank everyone for supporting me. I love you all.
So 3 years ago, I decided to go on a solo trip to Italy for no other reason than I felt a pull to go on a solo trip to Italy. I did Venice, Florence, and Rome, but at first I was only planning on staying in Florence for 2 days. So a couple months before my trip, I'm working at my job in New York. And this lady comes in. I'd never seen her before. I never saw her again, but it turns out that she had lived in Florence for a couple of years. We're talking, she's telling me how great Florence is, how much she loved it. And that night I decided to go home and change my trip so I would come to Florence for 3 days instead of 2, and I would come a day earlier than I had originally planned. So my trip comes. It's my first night in Florence, a day earlier than I had originally planned. And I decided to go to a jazz club that a friend recommended. In the jazz club that night, I met Dario. We spent my 3 days in Florence together. We were long distance for a year. He moved to New York for a year, and then in January, we decided to move back to Italy together. I started a new career. I started TikTok. And I'm 1000% going to marry this man. And all because I decided to come to Florence for 3 days instead of 2.
2.5 years ago, I made a phone call to my ex-husband's new wife in hopes of coming to a place of civility after 2.5 years of an extensive, high-conflict custody battle. And now, 2.5 years later, she and I co-host a Top 100 podcast, and our family is on a reality television show that documents our life, our journey, and our big blended family. That one phone call of getting out of my own way 2.5 years ago completely changed the course of my life. And the best thing out of it all is I gained a best friend and a soulmate for the rest of my life because she is my other half.
December 31st, 2015, so for New Year's Eve, my friends and I decided to get dressed up and go bar hopping downtown for the holiday. We ended up about 11 o'clock at a little bar that didn't have a ton of people in it. And my friend was messaging this guy that she had known on Tinder for like 3 months, and they had never met in person. They had never brought it up. They'd been talking daily, but they just hadn't had the chance to yet. And he was being super obvious, saying like, oh man, I wish I had plans tonight. What you and your friends are doing sounds so fun. And so we all start to get drunker and drunker, and she's still messaging this guy. Well, she ends up going to the bathroom at about 11:30. So I grabbed her phone and I texted the guy the address of the bar that we were at. And long story short, I am getting married to him. So that's pretty fun.
I remember the exact moment when I made an inconsequential decision, so small that changed the entire trajectory of my life. It's back in 2014. I was starting to buy rental properties, got my first one that's super low income, $55,000 property. I was like, let's see how this works. The day before closing, I get a call from the seller wanting me to switch over my direct deposit information to Section 8. I didn't know it was a Section 8 tenant. I knew that they were paying $1,300 a month on a $55,000 house, and I knew that I was going to make $900 a month in cash flow, but I had no idea that it was from Section 8. So I had the chance to back out, but I decided, no, let's go ahead and move forward with it. And obviously haven't looked back since. I have almost 400 units. Over 300 of them are Section 8. And I just learned how to streamline the process, learn about the inspections, learn about how everything worked with Section 8. And it turned out to be the best life-changing decision that I've ever made. So there's that.
When I was 22, I got my heart broken, and in order to get over the depression, I decided to watch motivational videos on YouTube. I saw a video of Will Smith winning the Kids' Choice Award for, I think, Men in Black. I don't know the year. It was part of a compilation, and he said the keys to life, kids, are running and reading. Running, because when you're running, there's a voice in your head that says, no, don't, stop, I can't. And if you can overcome that, you can overcome anything. And reading, because whatever happens to you in life, someone else has already lived it, and they wrote a book about it. I thought that was super deep. I ended up watching more Will Smith YouTube videos. He said in one that he loved the book The Alchemist. I bought and read the book and decided right then and there to move to Spain. And that one day of watching YouTube videos set me on a path to where I've traveled to over 60 countries, lived abroad, met the love of my life, got a dog and a home, things I never could have imagined.